Thank you, everyone, for joining us here. The insurance industry is one of the most heavily regulated industries in the world. Now we have Rich. Rich is with LegalMaps, which is a startup company that applies engineering into problem solving for compliance and regulatory issues. Rich, I believe your background is legal. You've been at a top-ranked law firm. You've been at a Fortune 100 company. All in that time, you consider yourself a problem solver that's solved billions of dollars or saved billions of dollars for Fortune 100 companies. So now you've got a startup and are in the mix and hopefully paying attention to the regulatory issues just because of your background anyways, I would imagine.
So I didn't want to speak about a specific client, but in general, a market ecosystem for pre-owned and IoT-connected marital aids. WhoLovesYouBaby.io. We're going to start with their approach to regulatory compliance. And the first press release came out in 2014. We're pretty sure that GDPR is a European thing. Besides, we're in Series B and it'll be fully cloud-based in 30 days. And what they did was they kicked the can down the road. That's their actual action taken. The General Data Protection Regulation. And it is kind of a European thing, but not strictly. A year later, in 2015, they had another press release. Co-founder Josh was pre-law, and he's all over this research and due diligence stuff. That was their press release. And what they actually did was they researched GDPR.io. There's no such website. You can buy it, though, at namecheap.com if you'd like to. And then they Googled GDPR and then got busy doing something else. Next press release. They're getting more sophisticated, as you can tell. We're benchmarking our peers in the marital aid timeshare ecosphere and developing a state-of-the-art framework of integrated compliance processes. That means they had checked Wikipedia and they listened to some GDPR podcasts. And they're getting more and more sophisticated, as you can see by the graph here. Next thing, press release. We have entered into a strategic partnership with a reg tech disruptor for our regulatory compliance needs. Of course, they downloaded a freemium app. Finally, next press release, we are focusing on an exit strategy, and what actually happened is they moved back in with their girlfriend and now they're Ubering. So the probability of compliance without discipline approach, it just gets worse and worse over time. And I just use a tech example because I thought some of the tech people would still be here this time of day. So this is how you don't do it. The next slide is a little bit more of making regulatory compliance process part of your culture. The way I like to break this down when I'm talking to clients is you've got regulatory compliance, then you've got customer requirements, and then you've got due diligence. And regulatory compliance is really the bare minimum table stakes. That's what you have to do to avoid getting thrown in jail. My view is if you're doing the right thing by your customers, you really should be regulatorily compliant already, because regulations always lag industry. They're developed because problems occurred because we in industry did things that hurt people or took advantage of people, and that's where regulations, for the most part, come from. You need subject matter experts. Sometimes there are subscription services. And your business units will be able to tell you about what they hear is going on as well. Next, you got to filter that information for fit, for RPN, risk priority number, and timing. Risk priority is severity, occurrence, and detection. It's how you look at, is this regulation something that we really need to do? Because as one of the speakers yesterday, I think representative from PayPal was saying, sometimes businesses make decisions not to follow regulation. And after you go through this process of winnowing down applicability, importance, and urgency, evaluate it. And if you're not going to use it now, you want to keep information anyway because you may need to do it later. Maybe it's not urgent today. So you find a way to preserve it. Once you've decided that you're going to preserve it, it's really critical to keep people first, then process and technology. If you've got rot at the top of your company or you've got integrity problems, it really doesn't matter what other processes you have in place. Another thing that I think is really important is to audit early. Audit for purposes of collecting data, not for disciplining people necessarily. Whenever you develop a new process and roll it out, build into it checkpoints that allow you to audit it so you can measure whether it's working or not and adapt as necessary. And I'm always a fan of keeping the results in a lessons learned database. You've done all that with your regulatory requirements. Same thing is true with customer and due care requirements. And these are really a higher standard. This looks like it's about engineering, but really it applies to any kind of business that you're doing. The next thing here is I look at regulatory compliance as a series of shields because no single approach is going to eliminate your risk. On the left side, the first shield is the most important, making sure you have a culture of integrity, focusing on quality over KPI. KPIs are important in every business and people talk about it, but sometimes they end up replacing basic concepts of quality. Taking a long view over a short view I think is really important as well in terms of deciding what to do in regulatory compliance.